Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. It is week 10 of NFL. I'm going to take questions, a little Q&A, help you guys with a lineup builder to build your tournament lineups, your head-to-head lineups, your 50-50 lineups on DraftKings for week 10. I'm sitting here with my chat on Twitch, and they're going to ask me questions for the next hour. Some of them are going to be 1v1s, 2v2s. Some are going to be how do I perceive a player to be cash game viable or more of a tournament play for week 10. And we can talk about strategy, bankroll management, or basically anything that they want to talk about for the next hour. Thank you guys for joining us once again on YouTube. I appreciate you guys watching this on demand. I do record it live, obviously, but I appreciate you guys taking the time Friday afternoon, Saturday, and Sunday morning to watch this video before kickoff. So leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Please drop a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And be sure you ring the notifications bell so you can get a drop in your inbox anytime I publish new NFL, NBA, or other content here on YouTube. So thank you for being here. Let's get to the show. What country is Mubat from? I detect a distinct accent. I don't know. Feelings on John Ross and Maguire. Okay, so there's very serious value this week in a couple of spots, right? So it's not value with volume, so to speak. Elijah Maguire filling in for Bilal Powell taking his role in the offense for the Jets. You're not going to get 20 touches out of Maguire, but for 3.4K, you really don't have to for him to achieve value on that salary. If he just gets this sort of usage that he got last week, with about 65, 67 total yards with 3 catches, all of a sudden he's paid off his salary at 3.4K. Is there upside? Sure. He's a little, he's got some wiggle. He can get himself into the end zone, albeit this game does have a really low total of like 36.5. The Bills expected to score like 13 to 17 points, and obviously the Jets somewhere between 18 and 24 on the day. I don't like to just look at the implied team total. I add plus or minus 2 or 3 on each side to kind of see where the ranges are going to go. If they score 3 touchdowns, do the Jets, Elijah Maguire does have a little bit of touchdown upside, albeit not rushing the ball in from like the 1 yard line. That's going to go to Crowell, but he is a little shifty. He can get, if he gets loose against this Bills defense, and where the Bills are strong is on the outside. They do have good linebacking crew, but they're best stopping the run, and with White closing down one wide receiver on the outside. They're not going to have a rookie quarterback at the helm this week. It's going to be Josh McCown, who I'm sure we'll get to at some point during this broadcast. But Elijah Maguire, one of the value plays. There's a couple of others at wide receiver. Let's just go to wide receiver and dial down to like 3.9K. So AJ Green out. Adam Humphries has been like the big value play for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Obviously, for the last 3 weeks, he won basically every GPP last week for people that played him at like 2% and under. Maurice Harris, another value play with Washington missing as many skill position players as they have, and he got 12 targets last week, and converts targets into catches very well so far. If you look, 4 targets, 3 catches, 3 targets, 3 catches, 2 targets, 2 catches, 12 targets, 10 catches. He's got like an 83% catch rate on the season, which is extremely high based on his low ADOT. So good possibility for him to pay off the salary, but the ceiling isn't there. High floor, low ceiling, kind of like Quincy Enunwa earlier in the season. And then obviously we have John Ross 2 at 3,900 filling in for AJ Green. But he's a totally different receiver than AJ Green. And this is my issue. He is an all or nothing wide receiver. He is going to run really deep routes. He is going to be targeted on a couple of them at least, but he's not really a guy who can sustain getting 7, 8, 9 targets and catching 5, 6, 7 balls because they're high ADOT targets. They're down the field. He does have a high ceiling. He should run a bunch of routes. He is coming off of that groin injury and he seems to be back, but he's a deep threat guy. Okay? If he gets loose on one, if he catches a 70-yard touchdown, that's a 14-point play right there. 1 for the catch, 7 for the yardage, and 6 for the touchdown. Obviously, he exceeds salary with 1 play if he catches a ball that's actually right within his wheelhouse, right? If he turns one of these catches into a long touchdown, he not only exceeds value, he smashes value because it probably won't be his only catch on the day. My concern versus somebody like Harris is that his volumes, or Humphries, is that his volume is going to be much lower than these guys in terms of target volume. But he does have more upside than either of the other 2 guys. I hope that answered the question as best as it could. Did I say Bob Ross? Why are there Bob Rosses in the chat? Game theory question. S-Boyne, thank you very much for the 100 bits. Aaron Jones week, love him as a 10-point home favorite. Volume's my issue with him. I'd prefer Deion Lewis to him at the same price point. I like the talent. I just don't know that they give him 20 touches. That's my issue. Game theory question. In one lineup, if you play a defense, say the Chiefs, and play DFJ in another, is that a bad strat? No. No. Worth going Gurley, Lewis, Duke for high-priced wide receivers and fading the other top-end running backs. You can. You'd better nail the wide receivers. If you don't like the cheap wide receivers, going with a cheaper option at the second running back spot, whether it's going to be, the third running back spot, whether it's going to be Duke or Aaron Jones or somebody in that, 4,000 to 6,000 range to get off the really high-end guys who would probably score between 20 and 35 points, you need to make that up at wide receiver. If you don't like the floor of the cheap wide receivers, guys like Ross, guys like Harris, the ones we just talked about, then pay up for those more expensive wide receivers who have just as much upside as the high dollar running backs. Mike Davis and cash if Carson is ruled out, maybe, but they're talking about getting Penny back involved. I don't like to listen to the Seattle Seahawks. We talk about coach speak all the time, right? And some coaches are honest and some coaches are not. And Carroll is not an honest coach with the media. So like everybody, oh my God, Pete Carroll said that this thing is going to be the thing, and it's never the thing. So, and also they should be playing from behind and on the road against the Rams defense, which struggles against the outside, but not really so much against the run. DK Cash pick 2, Gurley, Hunter, Gordon. Give me Gurley and Gordon. That doesn't mean Hunt is not bad. I just have him behind the first two. Any interest in Batson with Sharp and Taylor out? Maybe. I mean, he's super cheap. He's minimum salary, $3K. It depends on how many snaps I think he's going to play. It's something I'll probably have a better grip on by Sunday morning. I don't concern myself with uber punt plays more than like an if-then statement until inactives are announced on Sunday morning. Fitz versus MVS for cash. I think it's really close. I think that MVS has higher upside. Marquez Valdez-Scantling with a really deep ADOT and a quarterback that can get it to him, as opposed to Fitz, who should get peppered with targets and probably has a higher floor, in my opinion, than MVS. But MVS has a higher ceiling with a solid floor, right? So it's not like one is like 0 points or 30 and the other one is 15 points or 22. I think Fitz can get you a floor of like, 9. And I think that MVS's floor is somewhere around 6 or 7. So like, I don't think that they're MVS versus Djax for cash. I prefer MVS for cash, but I love Djax for tournaments. Anytime Fitz is at quarterback for Tampa Bay, I love Djax for tournaments because really high floor to ceiling difference, right? Djax can do what he did last week, or he can have you 25 to 35 fantasy points. That's why he's usually out of cash game consideration for me, unless everybody else is injured. For the Buccaneers, they're not. So for me, I prefer it the other way. Djax revenge game. True. McCown, a poor man's Fitzmagic. McCown is good. This is not a downgrade for the Jets offense. In fact, I think it's an upgrade for the Jets offense. Darnold's an upgrade long-term for the Jets, but based on 1 week at a time, I prefer McCown right now. Mike Evans in cash, probably not for me. If I'm going to pay up at wide receiver. There. So Mike Evans is 7K. If I'm going to pay up at wide receiver, I want Tyreek Hill this week, probably more than most people. I want Tyler Boyd. I want Mike Thomas, and I want Julio Jones. Those are the guys I'm prioritizing. This is kind of awkward land for me in here. The one player I like most out of this range, or the two, would be Landry and Josh Gordon in this 6 to 7K range. The Rams could just cannibalize each other. I'd probably rather own Goff to any one of the wide receivers and just get all the passing touchdowns and yards that way. knowing that he can completely spread it out and sometimes utilize a tight end or Gurley in the passing game for touchdowns. Not enough market share to have to stack him with a wide receiver. I'm okay just capturing the points from him and ignoring trying to capture one of the wide receiver, which wide receiver, playing the guessing game of which wide receiver is going to have the huge week that week. Landry should see a ton of targets in the middle of the field where they're soft, where Atlanta is soft. And Atlanta's given up a ton of yards over the last 4 weeks and a ton of points fantasy-wise to opposing wide receivers. I think they're fourth in the league in terms of fantasy points allowed to opposing wide receivers for the past 4 games or past 4 weeks. And Landry, obviously the most talented wide receiver for the Browns. Shirley McCown in cash for Team Jam 'em in. I don't hate it. I don't hate a lot of the cheap quarterbacks this week. S-Point, thank you for the 100 bits again. I would like my Josh Gordon thoughts against Tennessee. I believe he's underpriced against the industry across the industry with his matchup. Yeah, it's a good matchup, and if Gronk is out, I like it more. Like he's a good play. I prefer Landry to him for cash. I get the upside. Brady does spread it around, and good luck picking for sure. If there's not a lot of injuries, what's going to happen with the New England Patriots? Once the New England Patriots thin the herd a little bit with inactives, you see things happen like James White the last 3 weeks. When there's nobody else to give the ball to, he plays 73% of snaps. Now with Michelle back, I still like James White, but I like him a little bit less because I don't think he's going to play 73% of the snaps. I think he might play 50, right? So just kind of how I'm thinking about that. In terms of the quarterbacks, everybody's interested in this really cheap range of quarterbacks, whether it's Stafford. Bortles is extremely interesting against Indy. Jacksonville is playing very fast this year, one of the top 10 teams in the league in terms of pace, and Indy is number 4 in the league in terms of play. So a lot of plays should go off in this game, and if Indy can score against Jacksonville, which if you believe in using Vegas and team totals and implied totals to try and figure out how much scoring is going to be in a game, because they're pretty sharp at what they do, you would assume that they're going to score a couple of touchdowns, are the Jacksonville Jaguars, possibly 3+ touchdowns. They could all come on the ground. They might not too. Considering that there's going to be a lot of plays in this game, Blake Bortles should drop back from center an awful lot. And at 4,900 on the road, chasing in a dome, no weather concerns, no anything. I think he's going to be extremely popular. Not extremely popular. I think he is going to outperform his popularity, right? Because quarterbacks never have a super high ownership. He's probably going to be one of the 0 to 5% guys. And I kind of like where he sits. I like Marcus Mariota this week if you're looking for a super cheap option. But again, remember there's a really high floor to ceiling difference here. He does have 30-point possibility. We've also seen him score under 10 points 4 times this year. So you have to kind of measure that. Are you okay taking the risk going with these guys that are as cheap as they are? Josh Rosen, if you think that Kansas City can put some pressure on them and Arizona can actually move the ball with this new offense that Byron Leftwich, or the old offense that Byron Leftwich has put back in play for Arizona, getting the ball more to Larry Fitzgerald, running RSJ on more routes at tight end, and getting David Johnson the ball when and where and how he needs to get the ball. These are all guys that can break plays. Christian Kirk also has a good relationship with Josh Rosen in the pass game. If he can throw 2 touchdowns and 240 yards against Kansas City, he beats his salary. I'm not asking for, 360 with 4 touchdowns. That's not what you're looking for out of a sub 5K quarterback. You're looking for 220 to 240 yards with 2 touchdown passes. If you feel you can get that out of any one of these guys, I'm okay with it. And the same goes for all the way down here at 4,300 and Josh McCown starting this week for the Jets. 4,300, y'all. What does he need? 3.5x for quarterbacks, right? If he gets 16 points, he basically 4x's his salary and allows you to spend, if you're spending usually in the 5,500 to 6,000 range, he's saving you 1,200 to 1,700 that you can then upgrade a running back or a wide receiver or a tight end to something that's more palatable, something that gives you more targets, more snaps, more routes run. Does McCown run it all? Not really, but he is athletic. For those who doubt it, at his age, go look up Josh McCown charity basketball on YouTube. Dude can go. Like, these, like, doing reverse dunks on the, taking off from this side, coming up under and dunking it with two hands on the other side. Like, dude can go. And you look at him on a football field and he does not look all that athletic. You're like, oh, he's just kind of like Tom Brady, slow, kind of plodding quarterback. He can move, man. Like, you watch and you're like, really? I remember asking the question on Twitter last year, how many wide receivers in the NFL do you think can do a 360 dunk? See? And Cripple brought it up. That was a fun day last year. It was. And be like, I don't know. There's like less than 10% of wide receivers in the NFL can do a 360 dunk. Here's Josh McCown, the guy that you think looks really unathletic next to all those wide receivers, doing all the dunks. McCown and Robbie Anderson lineup opens up a lot. It does, but Robbie Anderson is probably going to draw White, who is a legit shutdown cornerback on the outside for the Bills. Cole Beasley showed everyone up. Exactly. The other guy you don't think is all that athletic, getting out there doing 360 dunks. And then people are like, wow, if Cole Beasley can do that, what can all these other guys that are much taller and graded higher than him at the combine do? Exactly. Anderson's doubtful. Again, we'll know before lock. Any interest in Anthony Miller for cash? Anthony Miller needs a lot of people to be out to be cash game viable for me. I think it's more straightforward. See, now the chat is just going to... I'd say it's at least 70% of wide receivers can do 360 dunks, probably more. That's where I'm at. I think it's over 75%. Then the conversation turned to like, well, what if they don't play basketball? All these guys that are this good at football also lettered in basketball in high school. And if they didn't, they played casually. Can you talk about Jordan Reed? He's popped in models. He pops in models because of past performance. Most models use previous 2 and 3 trailing seasons. Had awesome spots over and over and failed. The Tampa Bay defense, it should be, but is the Washington offensive line good enough? Njoku is also questionable. I don't see everything. Do I like Dion Lewis over David Johnson? Yes. I'm not purposely skipping anybody's questions, guys. I try and answer as much as I can. Okay, Robbie Anderson listed as doubtful. Here's the answer, guys. You probably can't see it because it's under my camera. There. Robbie Anderson listed as doubtful for Sunday's game against the Bills. They say he's almost assuredly out. Quincy Enunwa is playing. Jermaine Kearse back playing. And then they have Herndon playing tight end and other guys as well. So if he is out, somebody's going to draw White, most likely on the outside because I don't think he travels that much to the slot. Bucks defense, cause of Redskins banged up O-line. I don't hate it. I think there's enough other cheap defenses that I'd probably rather go after, but like for a tournament sprinkle at 2K, I'm fine with it. I'd personally rather play the Rams at 2,400. You know? Curse again, buckle up. I think Jordan Reed may be closer to the end than we think. Yeah, he's had trouble, dude. Like, injuries have just not been his friend. Dogpile, thank you for the 100 bits. McCown, OJ Howard, or Mayfield and Njoku for DK Cash. Depends on Njoku's injury. We'll learn more by Sunday morning. Obviously, he popped on the injury report today. I would prefer all things equal, right? If Njoku is ready to go, if it's not structural and they just shoot him up on Sunday and he can't feel the pain, I prefer Mayfield and Njoku. If Njoku's out, I obviously prefer the first one. Vernon Davis, Cash, not for me. James White, Boyd, or Gurley Fitz for DK Cash. If Michelle was out, I would probably say the first one, but give me Gurley and Fitz, please. Do I see a scenario where Ware gets 10 to 15 DK points this week? I mean, sure, there's a scenario, but like, how likely is that scenario is really the question. And I don't think it's all that likely. He would have to break like a 50-yard touchdown on one of the few snaps that he plays. Can I go over my favorite tight end play? They're all in Best Buys, man. Like, tight end's a mess, as usual. Yeah. Tight end is a mess as it has been for a couple of weeks. Kelsey, if you can afford him, most likely in tournaments. OJ Howard has been priced up, and he's pretty touchdown dependent, but I think he's okay. A lot of people like Jordan Reed. I haven't really been playing Jordan Reed a ton, and I probably would have been on Jordan Reed this week against Tampa Bay, but with their offensive line problems, probably not. Jack Doyle, I think, is definitely fine now that he's back from injury and should have a really solid floor with touchdown upside, but realize you might get trolled with an Eric Ebron touchdown once they get close. Burton not getting enough volume for me to really want him. He's in that Hooper range, very touchdown dependent. So is Hooper, albeit Hooper does have a good matchup against Cleveland with as much as Cleveland's missing. I would probably prefer to go with Ben Watson. I know that this is not going to be a popular play. I know that people are probably going to laugh at, oh, Al likes the old guy again. You know what? He's in a great offense and putting up points and scoring off against a team that gives up a ton of points through the air. Everybody's going to be on Mike Thomas this week if they can get to him, especially in turn. It's going to carry a very high ownership percentage. But Benjamin Watson going to come with a low percentage owned. I think that he's cash game viable this week. Doesn't need much to pay it off and is very utilized around the goal line, especially in the past few games. Any love for Chris Conley, assuming Watkins? If Watkins misses, yes. If Watkins misses, I'm on Conley as well in tournaments. Have you thought about Vanett? I have not thought about Vanett. Watson going to be playing for his life with Dez coming to take his role. Dez is not going to play tight end. Dez is going to take Traquan's role. Dez is going to take Cameron Meredith's role. He's not going to take Watson's role. You know, he's going to take snaps away from those guys. He's not going to take routes away from Benjamin Watson. DK Cash, Gordon, Fitzpatrick, MVS, rank that 3. I think Gordon, then MVS, then Fitz. You love Rivers, but they're all different prices. One's 6K, one's 54, one's, 5K. You love Rivers this week. I'm fine with that. Also not taking anyone's role being inactive this week. Also true. When Sammy went out last week, it was Robinson who came in from immediately for what it's worth. I mean, how many snaps did they play, though? Pricing feels real tight this week. It does. It's a very weird, strange... It's an odd week. Can Cleveland trade high to Jacksonville again? Right? Can we get something to open up? Like, the value that's opening up is going to be stuff that people are not going to be comfortable with. Landry versus Cup in cash. I prefer Landry to Cup. Sammy practice today on track to play, I'd assume. Probably. I haven't gotten all the practice reports from today yet. Belichick going to run up the score to pound Vrabel. Aren't they like friends? James White feels like a continued eruption. I do like James White this week. His role in the pass game will not change, and if Gronkowski's out, it definitely won't change. So if Gronk is out, even with Michelle back, I still like James White at 73. Maurice Harris or Kirk? I prefer Harris to Cook. Much higher floor. Any interest in Evans for cash? You have Evans, Landry, Edelman at the moment. I'm probably not going to go there. Continued eruption would be a hell of a nickname. Prefer Harris even if Crowder plays. I mean, again, all this stuff. I'm speaking in the vacuum right now. With Richardson out, with all the other guys out, Doxson's going to play. There's not going to be many places they have to go with the ball, and there's a path to targets for Harris, even with Crowder there. Somebody has to play on the outside. Sammy or Fitz if Sammy plays? Fitz. Thoughts on Keenan Allen? Not getting the volume that he got last year. That's really the issue with Keenan Allen. He was getting like 10 to 15 targets a game for like a long stretch last year, and that's when he was completely smashing, as well as getting like 30+% of the red zone targets. He's not getting that in this different offense this year. So it's not that he's bad, it's just different. I feel like Julio is good. Can you confirm? Can confirm Julio Jones is a good football player. Gordon Hill Evans or Gordon Hill MVS for GPP? The second one. So essentially, MVS or Evans. Matty Ice, good for cash. I don't hate it. And he's been posting like numbers that are as good or better than he did during his MVP season. You know? His one outlier year on his career. He's been damn good. And he's 6,200. Do you think Cleveland's going to stop him playing with their 4th and 5th cornerbacks? And the weapon that he has at tight end and does utilize, and Cleveland allowing as many deep targets as they allow? Like, I think he's fine. I don't think that you need to have him. But he's somebody that I'm going to want to have some allocation to in tournaments this week, especially with as much as I like Julio Jones and as high a percentage of Julio gets of his overall targets. Adida3, thank you very much for the Twitch Prime sub. And I missed one. Team Estrogen 35, thank you for the tier 1 sub before as well, 13 minutes ago. I apologize for being a bad streamer. Is it smart to play Chubb and Duke as a cheap stack in GPP, or is it crazy? It's a little bit crazy because I don't think that they have as much upside as you would want. You'd need Chubb to score 2 touchdowns and Duke to have 9 catches and 1 touchdown for that to pay off in a GPP. You know? Like a lot would have to break your way with that combination in one lineup. Caw with 100 bits says pick one: Julio, Boyd, Michael Thomas for DK cash. All things considered, I think that that's about the order that I'd want them. No, I'd want Julio. Yeah, that's the order. It's Julio, then Boyd, then Michael Thomas for me. And all of them are fine cash game plays. I think that there's a wider range between Michael Thomas and his floor and ceiling than Julio Jones's floor and ceiling, and theoretically Tyler Boyd's floor and ceiling with New Orleans numbers that they've given up to slot receivers all along. So it's very tight, but that's the order that I'd prefer them in. Is Ryan better than Goff? He's been statistically great all year. Are you saying for this week? I probably prefer Goff. But I'm going to have him too. Would you hate the play of Aaron Jones over Dion Lewis on FD? I don't know the price over there. I'd prefer Dion Lewis this week. Dion Lewis is a core play for me. And Aaron Jones is really not. Gazelle or Harris? Harris is going to have more targets for sure. Gazelle has more touchdown upside. Like, Gazelle needs to catch a touchdown to pay off, where Harris doesn't. Dion Lewis is 58 and Jones is 65. Then why it's even 700 cheaper to have Dion Lewis? Then why what is the argument here? Ridley and cash. Why? What am I missing? Thank you for the 100 bits though. I appreciate that. But what did I miss? Why are we talking about playing Ridley and cash? Mariota okay in cash? Yes. Julio has 2 weeks under 95 yards. I agree. He's extremely consistent and gets a bad rap because they just don't utilize him in the red zone as much as we would hope or think that they should use a weapon, an all-time great weapon like him in the red zone. They just don't. Insert Sarkeesian drunk joke here. Banged up Cleveland secondary. Yep. They're like down their top 3 or 4 cornerbacks, guys. Please rank 6K QB range. I don't know that I can rank them because they're all really tight. And I'm not trying to be a cop-out. But I think Rodgers is in play. I think Breeze is in play. I think Ryan and Goff are in play. I'm probably not going to have Tom Brady. I definitely will have some Phillip Rivers. You know, prioritize them for cash. I'd probably go with Goff, then Rivers, then Ryan, then Breeze. Sorry, Rodgers ahead of Breeze. The issue is if New Orleans gets up quickly, they're going to really shift to the run game, and that's what they've been doing, especially on the road. Does going back to Kamara make sense where Breeze might not be throwing a ton? Yeah. Kamara's super expensive. He's up to 8,700, which is where he should be, right? That's the price that I was saying on the podcast last week, where I thought he should be. Mark Ingram's the one who's the value this week. Yeah. If you expect them to expand the running game this week, then he's the tournament play. Not a cash game play for me, right? I'm not considering him for cash. But Mark Ingram gets 15 touches this week at 4,500. It's a play that I'm interested in. Yeah. That's where you want to take advantage of it in tournaments, because everybody's going to be on Kamara. Everybody's eyes are on Kamara. Kamara's been the one that's gotten all the work. So you can use Ingram as a leverage play over the Kamara and Michael Thomas ownership and ding both of them if Ingram's the one who happens to find his way into the end zone or spells Kamara on a short touchdown and ends a day with 16 or 17 fantasy points and takes a touchdown away from one of the other guys. All of a sudden, you're in a great position in tournaments. Don't mention Ingram. Too late. Sorry. My bad. Why not Fitzmagic no run? Because you said 6K and above. You guys can't give me a price range and then complain when I talk about somebody not in that price range. Give me all the quarterbacks at 6K. Here's all the 6K quarterbacks. What about this guy that was 58K? You didn't talk about him. Damn it! Can't win. Yes, Fitzmagic is definitely in play this week. Is it crazy to punt on tight end to fit everybody that you want? No, not crazy. Yes, Fitz is in play. Dalton's the one that I'm concerned with at 5,800 with the really good matchup. Uzomah or Watson? Watson. For me. You have an extra 200. Should you keep Hunt in there or spend it pivoting to Kamara? Who do you have as a higher raw projected total? Raider Nation. That's really the question. If you have Kamara with a higher projected total and a higher projected ceiling than Kareem Hunt, then if you have the money, play the higher projected guy. If you have Hunt projected higher and you prefer Hunt, if you have Hunt projected higher, or you just straight up say, you know what, I think the projections are wrong and I think Hunt is the better play, then play Hunt. Loved hearing Silva on the 3-man pod this week. Glad he comes on there for you guys. Yep. Got to get his black cherry fresca. No problem, JPL. Have a good rest of the day. Watson versus Njoku points per dollar. I mean, Njoku is a great play, I think. I really do. My issue is his injury right now. So again, we'll know more Sunday morning than we know right now. Best tight end punt's probably Vanett, though. Watson versus Burton, very similar, but Watson's cheaper. Njoku's iffy pivot to Doyle. Yes. Sub 4K wide receiver. I started the show with that. We did that. Doyle versus Burton. I prefer Doyle. Hooper for cash? I not for me. Explain the difference between Hooper and Watson to me. Like that's the issue. Doyle versus Watson in cash, they're two different price points. Doyle, if you can afford him, Doyle's the better play. Start Ingram, fade Kamara. Got it locked. Exactly. Exactly what I did not say to do. Any love for Vernon Davis's Reed is out? Yes. If Reed is out, then Vernon Davis becomes a great play, but he's not. It's called the 3-man. No room for Silva. Silva's a good dude. I like Silva. He's a friend of mine. I just give him a hard time because he does literally every podcast. But there's reasons why he can't do ours during the season. And I get it. I know why. It's because we don't have enough black cherry fresca and blue M&Ms. Feels like a week of guys greater than 7K and less than 5K. Yep. Starsy Scrubsy. They priced up everybody that's got a lot of volume and scores a lot of touchdowns really, really high. And they priced and this happened in week 10 in 2016 too. In week 10 of 2016, because I won, literally I did not have a losing week for the first 10 weeks of the year. And week 10 was the week I remember that the pricing started to shift. Because like everybody was too cheap in 2016. And that's where like, which guys are you playing out? I'm going to get 90 touches out of my 3 running backs is what I'm going to do. Because like David Johnson was like 7,500 and Le'Veon Bell was 7,800 that whole year. And like Melvin Gordon was like 5K. You could always have guys in your lineup that were getting 25 plus touches. What's his name? LaShawn McCoy was like 6K when he was good. So like I never lost the first 10 weeks of the year. And then like all of a sudden they crept the prices up. Much similar to what they are now, where like Gurley's 94 and Gordon's 9,000. Like back then, that's when team jamming came from. Because it was like, well, I'm just going to keep jamming David Johnson and Le'Veon Bell in my lineups, even if they cost me 19K total. Favorite of Marvin Jones, Hilton, or Fitzgerald in cash? In cash. Hilton's definitely last out of that group. Fitzgerald first, Marvin Jones second. DK pricing came too sharp. I want to know why it happens around like week 10. My K-Gram has some issue with Clary. Are you guys like real life friends? 2016 was truly a magical NFL year. How am I liking Red Dead? I've only played it on stream. It's all right. I have some issues with it. Mostly because like I don't do shooters on console, so like aiming with the triggers bugs me.
Hey party people.
T-Coon, thank you very much for the tier 1 for 4 months. Maybe. All the soft money starts to leave. Make it tough on the ones who are in it for the long haul after week 10. Maybe, I don't know. Unfortunately, yes. It could be. I don't know, but it seems to happen around week 10. The pricing gets ratcheted around week 10. And I guess I only remember 2016 because it was a very memorable daily fantasy year for me for obvious reasons. So, like, I remember not losing for 10 weeks, which is rare.
Week 10, let's go.
Hodge, thank you very much for the 3. Let's go. Every once in a while, Mubat sounds Canadian. Oh, God. What do you call a fake noodle? I don't know. Is it Mike Gram or Mike K Gram? But I don't know. What do you call a fake noodle? An impasta. This is fine. Can you discuss Baker versus Fitzmagic for cash? I prefer Baker, personally, because I need the money, right? Like that's really what's the issue here, right? I think that Fitz is a very good play against Washington. They should have the ball. They could theoretically be playing with short fields, even though Alex Smith has done a really good job career-wise of not turning the ball over, not fumbling, not throwing interceptions. Washington could struggle theoretically in a lot of situations to move the ball in this game, leaving Tampa Bay with a short field, which could, volume is not important for quarterbacks as much as efficiency. Efficiency trumps volume for quarterbacks. Volume trumps efficiency at every other position. So Fitz could have himself a 3-touchdown day very easily here at 5,900. But for me, I kind of feel like the Browns are going to be chasing. I think that Mayfield challenges for, if not gets the 300-yard bonus and gets multiple touchdowns, which is something he has done each of the last 3 weeks. And the players that this regime now got on the field last week and in the ways that they deployed them, like Duke Johnson, could lead to or should lead to Cleveland having a better ability to sustain drives and move the ball down the field, putting Mayfield in a better spot to have the ability to challenge for touchdowns in this game. 2 to 3 touchdowns, not out of the question. 300 yards, not out of the question, because they're going to have to move the ball against Atlanta. And I love that they were very aggressive going for 2 last week. Stud 5 with 14 months. Dudes. I will try to play all the dudes. They made it tough this week, though. What happened to Dez? What'd I miss? What just happened? If Njoku is out, are you still on Baker? Yeah, I mean, he's still got guys that can catch the ball. He tore his Achilles. Welp. GG Dez. You had a good run, dude. He was one of the best wide receivers in the league for a long time. And now I fear that he's finished. On his like right after signing with the team too. So ignore what I said earlier then about Dez taking snaps from the outside guys. There's no fear. You know if you tore your Achilles or not. Like, there's no doubt when you tear your Achilles. It's a yes or no. You can see it. Because, like, it detaches from the heel and rolls up into your calf. Like, they know when it's torn. You have Traquan in season long. I mean, have you ever seen Major League, the first one? Like, a lot of people getting bad news. Like, don't celebrate in front of people that are getting their death warrant right now. You know, they're like, go outside and dance. Kobe shot free throws. Yeah, Kobe did a lot of things like that. Kobe separated his right shoulder after a dunk, and then didn't come out. The play didn't end. Came down the court and shot a three with his left hand instead of passing. Because he felt in his heart of hearts that it was a better idea for him to shoot the ball with his offhand with a separated shoulder than to pass to any one of those other four clowns. Peak Kobe. It was plus EV for sure. Probably was. Evans and Gordon versus Boyd and Landry for FD cash. I'm not as fluent with FD cash prices right now. I haven't made my FD lineup. I prefer Boyd and Landry based on matchup and talent and everything else this week. So unless there's some egregious price difference, I'd prefer the second one. I have not watched the Peyton Manning show. Amendola, Corey Davis, and Harris. Rank them. I mean, I think Corey Davis is ahead of Harris. I think Amendola comes in behind both of them. My issue with playing, I don't want three Titans I don't want a lot of Titans in my lineup. I don't. I'm probably going to have Lewis. So, like, do I really want to have Mariota and Lewis and Davis and rely on the Titans that Lewis can get his 15 to 25 points that I want or need out of him, and Corey Davis can get 13 to 15 or 13 to 18 points, and Mariota can throw 2+ touchdowns possibly? Like, I don't know if I want that much exposure to the Titans offense in cash. I think there are better routes that you can go, better lines you can take. That's another thing that gets me. I hate it when people say lines. Like, I take it from the poker stance, right? Like, this is the line you should take, right? This is the route you should take. But people use it like, hey, man, you got a line for this week? Like, no, you mean a lineup? Like, can I help you build a lineup? No, man, help me build my line this week. Line up. It's a lineup. Good options at D for GPPs? There's a lot. You know? Like, this is a good week for defense, to be honest with you. Detroit giving up a ton of sacks. If you want to pay up to be contrarian and go get the Chicago Bears defense at home, I don't hate that with Khalil Mack coming back. The Jets defense against Buffalo is going to be popular. I like the Rams at 2,400 with the amount of pressure that Seattle has allowed onto Russ Wilson. So high sack floor for the Rams. Aaron Donald with by far the highest percentage of double-teamed sacks this year, like well ahead of like J.J. Watt and the other Watt and everybody else. Don't say that around Aikman. Exactly. Well, they're cheaper because they're not playing Buffalo. Buffalo adds, I think, 15% to a team's price if I'm reading it right. Like looking back at the last few weeks, look at the team that plays Buffalo, and they get like a 10 to 20% hike in price the week that they play Buffalo. Rams at home is too easy at 2.4 K. That's kind of how I feel. You know? I know that they just got throttled, right? But that was on the road against one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. I do respect Russ Wilson a ton, but Drew Brees does not get sacked anywhere near as much as Seattle allows pressure. Snafu, thank you for the 3 months getting the silver VIP badge in the chat. Show them some love, guys. Any early look faves at captain for Sunday Night Football? Haven't looked at the SNF game. Sorry. 6 Titans too many? Probably too many. Cobb downgraded to questionable today. Ooh. Seattle only has 7 turnovers on the ceiling. Hurts the ceiling for Rams. Theoretically, yes, but like it hurts the chances at a ceiling for the Rams. But look at how many sacks they've allowed on the season. They're just not throwing the ball a ton. Is Seattle. They would rather throw it between 17 and 23 times. I don't think you can do that against the Rams. I think they have to drop back 30 times. And when you drop back 30 times, you create, with the amount of pressure that they're going to allow on their quarterback with this Rams defensive line, you're going to allow a lot more sack possibilities. And the greatest predictor of defensive turnovers and defensive touchdowns are pressure in the backfield. Marlon Mack GPP only? Probably for me, yeah. Can you justify D Jackson cash? No, probably not. Not with the other guys in that range. I'd prioritize all the other ones over him in cash, but I love D Jackson tournaments, and I've tried to be overweight on him pretty much every week since week 2. And it's probably something I'm going to continue doing. Is Kelsey a lock? In cash, no, he's not because it's too tough. It's too tough to fit him because there's not enough value to get there. Not enough countable value to get there. So I want to have at least as much as the field, if not more, in tournaments, but probably not going to play him in cash this week.
Thanks for all the advice, Al.
Thanks for the 4 months in a row, man. I appreciate you still being here. And you were a sub last year, too. It's like I lose a lot of subs during the offseason for NFL. Some people hang around. You see them pop up in the chat like 16, 17, 14-month subs. I appreciate them as well. But I like people coming back, too. So I'm just glad y'all are part of the community and jumping into Discord. And I see people in Discord coming up with big wins consistently in NBA and NBA Showdown especially. Apparently, you guys have figured that game out real quick. And obviously in the NFL channel as well. Got to start killing more zombies in the offseason. That's the plan. Less zombies, more scavs probably. And maybe more cowboys too, but we'll figure it out as the season goes along. But I do want to say thank you to you guys for being here. I appreciate you taking the time to watch this video. If you're still here and you haven't dropped a like, please do. Would love to see you on Twitch. I'll be live on Sunday morning, the last 45 minutes right before kickoff, 9:15 Pacific time, 12:15 Eastern time for the Anti-Tinkercast. Links for all my socials are available down below in the description. Just click show more. If you haven't already, the sub button's right there. Here's another video that I'd love for you to check out, and I'll catch up to you guys later. Bye.